protect your life with a life insurance, health with your health insurance, post-retirement with a pension, and your current lifestyle is taken care with the salaries, then all this wealth is for what? What we create as an asset. Somewhere I think, are we missing out on how do we give back to the society, and where and when the philanthropic activity can start for one, and at what stage? Should it start at a very early stage, or do we need to also look at our own investment or a portion of investment from a perspective of social cause, and how do we support the social fabric around us? And
can I respond to your
yeah,
point?
please.
First of contrarian point, sorry. I hate pension schemes. Reason being, my view is that pension schemes typically will give you a return, okay, tax-free return, कुछ भी बोलो 7%, 7.5%. You gross it up with tax. Tax saving cannot be my driver for my investment decision. Never. There could be an initiative or there could be an investment opportunity which could be tax heavy. Okay, fair enough. You apply your tax and then you see net, kya banta hai? And then you see an initiative which is tax free, then you say kya banta hai? That's one decision. Second thing is lock-in and liquidity. What is a lock-in? What is the liquidity? If I don't have the liquidity, if I have too much of lock-in, a person like me, maybe, I don't invest. For me, it's very clear, my only fixed asset that I would invest in is real estate. Beyond that, everything has to be liquid. And today, if I was to look at a long-term return on equity, if it is say going to be 14%, 14 पे आप tax लगाओ ना, 14 पे आप tax लगाओ, you still are getting a rate of return which is healthier than what any scheme can give you. So now you do run the risk of principal getting eroded. That's always there. But that is where you need to validate every day.
The challenge is we are all sitting here with reasonable success and looking back at what we have done. And if I flip the perspective that you're a 25-year-old and you have no view of what the future looks like, the future is the future. What instruments like NPS and PPF do is you're putting small amounts of money without a conscious effort of making the investment. It just goes in and it's a habit forming.
Why can't you do SIP?
You can.
It's like that only, no?
Pension and NPS and SIP have delivered over a 30-year period. The stock market return is 17%. NPS over a 10, 12-year period is 18%. So the instruments are not different. But I'm saying whether it's an SIP, whether it's a company deduction, whether it's an NPS, Provident Fund or NPS, there is a habit formation of saving which has to happen before you start going and incurring expenses, which are,
Correct.
On the spur expenses that all of us have done when we are younger. So how do you carve the savings out before you get into that, what you can spend? And that is where I think some of these instruments, SIPs, NPS and PF, make incredible.
But I think, Professor, you have raised a very important point. What is the purpose of wealth? And how much of that wealth is personal consumption? How much of it you want to leave for your family? And at the end of the day, what does wealth empower you to do? I can only say, I had an option of continuing my corporate career for another 5, 10 years.
What age did you retire?
Well, I quit my job at 59.
Early retirement.
At Polycab?
At Polycab. And I did that because one, I had to do my PhD. Of course, the company was keen for me to continue an advisory role. or say, listen, take a sabbatical, finish your PhD, come back, etc. But I said, I need to explore other horizons. So today, just to share with you, sir, there are some 15 NGOs that I'm associated with, 5 intensely, 3 or 4 with less intensity, and probably 5 or 6 where it is more of a financial support and no involvement. But the 5 that I'm involved with, there is significant investment of time, energy, my management bandwidth, and some amount of capital. I empower them, I enable them to dream, to have a higher vision. I help them in planning succession. I help them in capacity building. I help them in transforming the way. Let us say there also is a promoter there. There is also a promoter mindset. There is also a family involved. But then how do you make them more professional? I think these are all huge challenges. Yesterday, right from 10 o'clock in the morning until 9 p.m., I was engaged with one NGO in Navi Mumbai. They do phenomenal work in the area of picking up people on the streets. It's called Seal Ashram. The streets of Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, or wherever, the cops come and deliver people who are having incurable diseases, cannot take care of themselves, maggot infested bodies, people who are mentally deranged, etc. And 275 of them are being taken care. As I speak with you, we have enhanced the capacity to 400. The plan is to take them to 600 over the next 1.5 years. And it gives me enormous joy when I am enabling some, I can't go and do the work they do. But if I can enable them to do that at scale, I think I would have served society better. So you are absolutely right. Wealth is meaningless unless you deploy it with purpose. And I think that is where I am getting even greater joy than all the corporate success, valuations, market cap, and all that one has
I
built.
have a question here. You got into this social initiatives very late at your career. So this is what is right, or is it that one has to have that habit from beginning?
You see, very often when I give a lecture, when I go for, let us say, campus talks, or even when I go in for convocation ceremonies, I ask a small Guru Dakshina. I tell the students who are graduating that, listen, your faculty here, your school, and me as the chief guest here just want something in return for this wonderful ceremony. I said, can you just give 1 hour a day? You guys are at 99.5% in terms of the global pyramid, in terms of the opportunity ahead of you and where you stand on the shoulders of others. Can you look at the 99.5% of people below you, and can you make a difference to their lives? And can you start today? In my own way, I have been doing that probably for the last 20 years and not overnight. But now I've chosen to do this much more intensely than pursue another corporate career.
So me and my wife, we started an endowment when I was 38 and she was 35 to support treatment of cancer patients. My wife's mom passed away through cancer, and we sort of dedicate ourselves to that cause, and over the last 20-25 years we have done lots in that space. So I think to each its own, but I think what you're doing is that personal amount of time that you're spending, the way you described it, I don't think I've reached that stage yet, but maybe post-retirement.
No, don't wait.
Yeah, no, right now also I'm doing it, but it can't be that intense. type of stuff.
It
But
can start early enough. It should start early enough because otherwise it's not something that you don't understand what you're missing out on, very honestly. It's not until you've had a chance to
and
do
you
something.
don't even understand how privileged you are. Like you said, you're 0.5 and there's this 99.5 out there which
It
needs
doesn't
your...
hit you until you do something around that. So growing up years, you would be in schools, in colleges, people have been part of Helpage, Interact, Rotary, different kinds of things. But you have a very, very filtered and, let's say, barriered interaction in doing that. But if you start volunteering in terms of time, which is what you have at your disposal in early years, right? It brings on phenomenal management abilities and insight into how people think, how people react. It's valuable. Look at it, investment in oneself. At least I have thought of it that way. It's investment in myself as a human being, as a professional, in learning and knowing how another person will react and think. How do I say it right without making the person feel small? I mean, it's important, right? We hire people who are 20-year-olds, who are fresh out of schools and who come with chips on their shoulders. You've got to make them see the reality of corporate life, of, day-to-day interaction. I picked that on how to handle that by learning with interaction on somebody who didn't have my level of income. So it's all learning as a student of life is interchangeable. So everything is an investment, in my opinion. Whether it is, you're not doing anybody favors by volunteering, by being social. It's do it for your own selfish self.
Correct.
It works. It helps.
And if I may just add to what you just mentioned is that I'll just share with you what I do. I don't do anything lofty, by the way. I'm being very clear on this. Whether I should or not, that's debatable. But I'll tell you 3 things I do. Okay? And I have only stuck to these 3 things all my life. The first is that I plant trees. Rather, we plant trees. I don't know whether it's called a give back or whatever. We plant trees. It all happened, and not too long ago, when I lost both my parents, my first tree I planted was in memory of them. It's still there in Kafparet, in that park. And then I realized it's a good thing. As you see the tree grow, it kind of whatever. So that's one thing. The second thing we do is that when we buy any grocery, okay, thik, aaj to we go to all these supermarkets, etc. But as and when we go to buy anything from people, or we buying anything, merchandise or anything from people, or services from people who are the less privileged financially, we don't bargain, we don't negotiate. As a matter of principle, वो बोलेगा क्या 500, you will think नहीं 400, दे दो, कोई बात नहीं. That is one area we don't negotiate as a principle. That's 2. The third is we always believe that if you have to give something, then one good way of giving to someone is probably education. So whether it's our driver or the house helps, whenever, and in fact we are doing that. It's just because we are coming up, and we always believe. My driver wanted to get his family from his village. When I met his son, I said, "Beta, क्या बनना है?" बोला, "मुझे IAS officer बनना है." Simple thing, IAS officer बनना है. Now, either you laugh at it, or you say, "Let me see how I can be a part of his journey," right? So the point that I'm making here is, I think if we can actually educate or contribute in whichever way, you could have your laptop which you will be discarding, give it to him. He's going for a coaching class, support him there. Help him buy books. Do things, not necessarily cash. In a way it's cash if you're sponsoring his education or school or the school fees or the deposits. This at least will ensure that they're going to good schools. Not maybe those kind of schools, but still decent schools than what they would have otherwise been able to do so. So these 3 things. One is education of your house help and your driver. The second thing is plant trees. And the third thing is don't negotiate. How much when you are dealing with people who are not the very privileged. These are the 3 things.
Okay, so we can say that budgeting part of your resource, part of your time, part of your wealth for a social cause makes it much more responsible.
Because the only thing today,
At a younger age. So.
the only thing that is scarce in this world is time. That's irreplaceable. So if you give something your time, that's the best thing that you could have given to anything. Second is obviously money.